What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Paul Macetta, and I am a researcher in the field of influence, persuasion, and human communication. So if you like learning about things like influence, persuasion, and leveling up your communication skills, then consider subscribing and hit that bell notification so you get updated when I release more videos like this. So today's video is all about getting clarity from someone when you are communicating with them because they are making unsubstantiated claims. This is extremely valuable when you are communicating with someone in general, but it's even more valuable when you're communicating with them with the intention of influencing, persuading them, or convincing them to either buy something or just simply accept your point of view. Now, the technique I'm going to share with you today comes from my book, Meta Model Mastery. This book has 89 precision questions that you can use to expose objections, control conversations, and close with confidence. And I'm hooking you up with a field guide version of this book, absolutely free. There is a link in the description that will take you over to a free Google document. No opt-in required. This is a document I created specifically for you that will help you navigate some of these techniques that I am going to share with you. So in today's video, we are going to look at, so there are 89 of these bad boys in here, and today we are going to look at one of my favorites, which is number 32. So number 32, this is called the subjective experience probe. So what is this? This is a questioning pattern that exposes how someone internally represents an experience they're claiming as objective reality. So look, there's a saying in the world of NLP, which all of this comes from, which is that the map is not the territory. And really just what that means is that each one of us has an internal representation, aka a map of the world, aka the territory. So the same way when you look at a location on a map, whether it be a physical map like we used to have back in the day, or on a GPS system and Google Maps, whatever it may be, when you look at the screen and you see that location, it looks vastly different than when you actually visit the physical location, right? The territory, the physical territory always looks different than the digital representation on the map. Well, this is the same, this is exactly how human beings operate. We have mental representations of territory, of the real world. And what can be challenging is when someone's mental representation of the world is different than yours, especially when it's different than objective reality. So what is objective reality? You could argue that it's what the majority of people would claim to be real. And so this questioning pattern exposes how someone internally represents an experience that they are claiming as objective reality. So how does this work? This works when someone makes absolute claims about experiences. You simply ask how they specifically experience it. So when do you use this? You use this when prospects present subjective experiences as universal truths, when understanding their internal process, or when reframing perception. So why does this work? It works because subjective experiences vary. That's why they're subjective. This makes them explicit. Making them explicit allows reframing. So here's an example. You're speaking to a prospect, you present your entire system to them, let's say, and they say, "This sounds complicated." What you would say, or what you would ask, is what specifically makes it feel complicated to you? Or if they said it's overwhelming, you would ask what specifically overwhelms you about it. You see, and this is the difference between a master communicator and an amateur communicator. Amateur communicators try to overcome the objection or the statement at the surface level. In other words, when the person they're communicating with says, "This is complicated," They don't find out specifically what they mean by complicated. So now they're accepting that statement of it being complicated as true. So now what's happening is they are generating a mental image of what they think complicated means, and now they could try to overcome that objection based on their internal representation of what complicated means. So let me give you an example. Let's say I was a personal trainer and a nutritionist, and I put together a system that will help somebody lose 20 pounds in the next 30 days. And that system consisted of intermittent fasting, let's say, time-restricted eating, calorie counting, exercise, weight training, resistance training, high-intensity training, right? There were different aspects to it, right? And let's say I presented the whole thing to a prospect and they were like, man, that sounds complicated. And I assumed that what they meant by complicated was that it's too many things to remember to do, right? So they got to remember to do time-restricted eating. They got to remember to do their macros. They got to remember to do a workout every day. They got to remember which workout they have to do on that day. So let's just say I thought that they meant that it's a lot of things for them to have to remember by complicated. But let's say all they were talking about was the calorie counting aspect of it. That's what they meant by complicated. Or maybe they meant the whole thing is complicated, which would be a separate follow-up question. But so if I asked them, if they said this sounds complicated, and I just assumed that what they meant by complicated was all the things that they have to remember to do, and I started overcoming the objection based on that, I would be wasting both of our time because I would be overcoming the wrong objection. When I asked the question, what specifically makes it feel complicated, if they were then to respond and say, well, the calorie counting, I could easily overcome that objection by showing them an easy way to do the calorie counting. Maybe there's an app that does the calorie counting for them. The point is, I would at least know what the true objection is at that point so that I could start overcoming it rather than just assuming I know what the objection is. Now, let's say I asked them that question and they said, well, everything about it feels complicated. Then I would again get specific. Okay, let's go through these things one by one. The first thing that you're going to need to do is start counting your calories. Does that sound complicated to you? Well, no, I know there are apps that can do that kind of stuff. Great. Next thing, you're going to have to do some resistance training. So 3 days a week, you're going to use free weights. 2 days a week, you're going to do this. Each one's going to be 30 minutes. What about that sounds complicated to you? Well, yeah, I guess that doesn't sound so complicated. Okay, great. Next thing, right? And then maybe the next thing is something that they find complicated. Okay, fine. Then you could overcome that objection. But the point is, if I just stopped and accepted the answer of, well, the whole thing feels complicated without, again, drilling down on what specifically they mean by complicated, I can never really put myself in a position to overcome that objection or make that point. So here's a detailed example. A prospect says, your solution is too complex. You would ask, what specifically feels complex about it? They say, well, let's say they identify 2 features they don't understand, right? You would simply simplify the explanation of those 2 items rather than assuming the whole solution needs to be simplified. Remember, oftentimes it's easier than you may think, because again, if you just accepted that answer at face value, you could be trying to justify the whole entire system when really it's maybe just 1 or 2 sticking points that you need to explain and overcome. So like I said, guys, I put together a free field guide for you. It's a Google document. There's a link in the description. Just go ahead and grab that. Absolutely free. No opt-in required. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. Leave a comment. Put this to work. Let me know how it works for you. If you want to see me do more videos like this, let me know so I can do them for you. And if you enjoy this type of content, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification so you get updated when I release more videos like this.